This one is tough. Look, I'm not the toxic type of football fan that goes calling for the manager to be sacked as soon as results start going badly. Not in my nature. On top of that, if you're a Chelsea player, I like you. I will root for you. I will support you till my last feckin' breath. Which is why these videos are a bit of a struggle. I knew going into it, making this type of series, that there was going to be some tough ones because I hate having to give Chelsea players poor ratings, but in the interest of doing this right, it has to be done. And trust me, there's going to be a few of those today. So strap in because this one's going to be a bit bumpy. Edouard Mendy, 7 out of 10. And yes, this isn't actually that rough of a start. But look, we've lost 2-0 against Leicester, which means we've conceded twice, but neither goal were Mendy's fault in any way, shape or form. And on top of that, he made a few good saves to keep the score at a respectable 2-0. He actually controlled the box quite well. His distribution was good for most of the game. Didn't do a whole lot wrong. Did quite a few things right. So yeah, if there's anyone not to blame for this one, it's Mendy in goal. Reese James, 2 out of 10. This is not the only time we're going to see a rating like this in this video. I love Reese James. I really like Azpilicueta, but right now I would prefer to see Reese James in the team to Dave, so I was happy to see him starting in this one. But it wasn't great. It was, well, to be honest, it was very, very poor from Reese. He was completely, well not completely, a little bit of blame on Rudiger, but he was mostly at fault for that second killer Leicester goal. Completely lost track of his man, didn't track the run at all. James Maddison had all the time in the world to pick his spot and finish. On top of that, his attacking play, which is, you know, his main attribute, was really poor in this one. So many times he got into a good position. Tammy Abraham or whoever was in the centre made a run, tried to get something on the defender, and Reese James just didn't put the ball in, which is so unlike him. He was like turning back, passing it back to the midfield or even to the other centre-backs. It was painful to watch at times, not what you'd expect from him at all, and hopefully it's the last time we see it. Tony Rudiger, 4 out of 10. Honestly, in the heart of the defence, there was a few good things from Rudiger. He made a few okay challenges, won a couple of aerial duels, not all the ones that he was involved in, but like I just said, he was also in some way at fault for that second Leicester goal because he was completely just focused on fouling Jamie Vardy, wasn't that bothered at all with the ball, which then slips past him right into the feet of James Maddison. So yeah, mostly Reese James' fault, but some blame to be put on Rudiger there as well. Thiago Silva, 6 out of 10. Thiago in this game looked like a man who is very aware of what Jamie Vardy is capable of and paid him way too much respect because of it. Now, Jamie Vardy didn't actually get on the score sheet, but that's not because of some defensive masterclass from Thiago Silva. On another day in another game, Jamie Vardy probably would have gotten on the score sheet at least once, if not twice. So Thiago Silva kind of got away with it there because he afforded him way too much space on a few occasions, let Vardy get the run on him, let him pick up the ball and run at him. Not great from the captain of the day. Ben Chillwell, 2 out of 10. Maybe I gave Ben the new and improved picture that I promised him a little prematurely because in this game he was woeful. I mean, offensively and defensively, you know, going forward, crosses were awful. I mean, most of them just hit the first man or were just blocked immediately. Defensively, mistimed so many clearances, skewing them left, right and centre, mistimed a few tackles as well. Definitely the worst performance I've seen from Chilwell. And again, I don't like having to say this about him because I like him and I'd much rather be talking about the amazing crosses he put in. But no, gotta call it as it is, and yeah, not good from him. Matteo Kovic, 6 out of 10, and considering we were so poor today, you'd think a lot of blame would be put on the midfield, and believe me, they're not entirely blameless, but Matteo Kovic actually had, I would say, one of his better games of the season. He did amble around the pitch a little bit at times, was maybe a bit slow to make a tackle or pick a pass, but those were few and far between, those incidents, because he was actually quite sharp today. Some of his passes were not spectacular, but, you know, he sprayed the ball out wide quite well, kept possession quite well, won possession back a few times. So, yeah, similar to Mendy, nothing great from Kovic in this, but definitely not the one to blame. Mason Mount, 6 out of 10. He was the hero just a few days ago against Fulham. couldn't quite replicate it this time around, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he looked tired. He still put in an absolute shift, but with about 65, 70 minutes on the clock, I was looking at him and I was kind of thinking it was time for him to come off, because he looked shattered, the poor guy. And you can understand it, because he is a favourite of Lampard's. He's a favourite of the fans for the most part. And as a result of that, he plays pretty much all the time. But in the role he's asked to play, he doesn't quite have the same legs as N'Golo Kante to just get around the pitch for 90 minutes. So he probably does need a break in his next game. But for this one, with Mason Mount, it's hard to ever rank him too poorly down these ratings because of the work shift he'll put in. So yeah, I'm happy to give him a 6. Kai Havertz, 6 out of 10, completing the Devil's number in midfield for us. Kai actually had moments in this game, more moments than I've seen him have in a lot of recent games. He looked quite assured on the ball. A friend pointed out to me that Kovic was feeding the ball into his feet much more than N'Golo Kante or even the centre-backs tend to spray it out wide to Chillwell and James. No, Kovic was giving it into the feet of Kai, letting him operate through the centre. And to be honest, I like to see it, because it didn't work too well today. But I think for the most part, it's the way to go, because on very few occasions we've unlocked defences, deep line defences. We haven't played our way around them. We haven't carved them apart. And I think one player that can do that is Kai Havertz, but he can't do it if the ball's always just being thrown out wide to be dumped into the box via a cross. So, yes, not a brilliant performance from Kai today, but I think that the way we tried to play is the right way going forward. Hudson-Odoi, 4 out of 10. He got the start in this game, and I don't begrudge him getting the start in this game because I wanted him to start in it. Yes, he didn't do great, but that doesn't mean he should just be dropped immediately going into the next match. No, to be honest, it's the exact opposite. He should play again the next match and be given a few matches after that to really prove himself, because he comes on, he's a bit of a super sub for a few games, gets a start, gets subbed off with 25 minutes or so to play, and then doesn't start the next game. That's just going to ruin the lad's confidence. It's going to make it seem like Lampard is nearly blaming him for the fact that we didn't win the game, which absolutely is not the case. This was very much a team effort. But yeah, he wasn't sparkling in this one. He didn't take on his man as much as I would have liked. His crosses were weak, but at least he looked to be dynamic. Him and Polisik, to be fair, I'll get onto him in a sec, but at least they try to have a run at their man, try to make things happen, and Leicester said no today, but hopefully in our next game, which I think is the FA Cup against Luton, they're not quite able to do the same. Kristin Polisik, 5 out of 10. I heard the commentators saying at one point towards the end that Polisik was our best attacking player, and I just don't really think so. I mean, he tried some stuff, he had a dribble on occasion. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but for the most part, there was no end product either way. I mean, yes, he thought that he'd won us a penalty. I thought that he'd won us a penalty. It was like that far away from being a penalty. Johnny Evans tripped him up. It was initially given. VAR decided that it was marginally outside the box, which is fine. It probably was. Hard to tell from the replay. It was close. Maybe it was a penalty. Anyway, back to the point. Pulisic wasn't our best attacking player because of that inconsistency. To be honest, I would say Kai, if not even Timo Werner coming off the bench with like 25 minutes to play, was our best player. I'd say Timo Werner was our best attacking player. He also he thought that he'd gotten on the score sheet. He thought he'd broken his 10-11 game duct. And again, ruled off for offside for that, his t-shirt line. It was that! Which does show that, despite the poor performance and the fact that it looked so comfortable for Leicester, this was a game of fine margins because, the first incident, the penalty, that was at 1-0, would have made it 1-1. Instead, a minute later, it's 2-0. The Timo Werner incident, that would have made it 2-1 with 10 minutes left to play. 100% game on again, but just not to be. Tammy Abraham, 3 out of 10. I think I gave the same rating to Giroud last game out. This time it goes to Tammy. Not happy about it because I quite like Tammy. I defend him quite often because a lot of people seem to think he's just a lump that sits up top. I think that he's well able to get involved with the interplay, well able to pick up the ball and run at his man or run in behind because he's faster than he seems. Not his game today. He had a couple of half chances. I think there was like a header from a corner. Another one where he kind of got in down the side, but between Schmeichel and I think it was James Justin, they smothered the shot. Not a whole lot else from him in the game. Didn't get involved as much as you would like. So it's kind of hard to rate him anything higher than this. Anyway, lads, that's it for this one. Leicester are top of the table now, so, fair play to them. But it needs to get better from Chelsea, and it kind of needs to get better soon. I, for one, am not saying Lampard out at all, but if these kind of results continue going into the next 2-3 weeks, and he does get the sack, I can't say I'll be surprised, because we all know what Abramovich is like when it comes to these types of situations. I think he should be given at least the season. He's brought in all these players. He clearly had some kind of a plan in mind when he did that. Injuries have derailed it a bit, and now he does pretty much have everyone at his disposal, and he seems to have lost sight of what his plan was. I think mainly due to the fact that Kai and Timo haven't sparkled as much as he would have liked. But still, like I said, give the lad a proper chance, at least this season. But if you agree, disagree with my opinion, be sure to comment below, like if you did enjoy, subscribe for more footy chats, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.